Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Kumar Singh, professor in Faculty of Library and Information Science, School of Social Science, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. So today I have the topic that is an overview of Google Suite. Why I have chosen this topic? Because as we know very well, Google is one of the prominent company which is providing various services, and the reason, as I said, they have kept many apps together, which will be very easy for me to discuss with our learners. So I hope learner will understand it very carefully or very easily. So this topic is associated with the course that is called Certificate in Library and Information Science. Code is BLII 014. So let's start with this topic. So in this course today I will be discussing about introduction and what is Google Suite, what is the use of Google Suite, how to access Google Suite, application of Google Suite for education, and apps included in Google Suite, and conclusion and references. So let's start with introduction. So as we know very well, in the last 2 decades, technology advancement has benefited almost every sector. So in this way, digital literacy is very much essential for everyone, and digital literacy means the person must have skill to use technology safely, efficiently, and effectively, or we can say responsibly. However, these have been remarkable changes in some field like media and communication, climate change, and healthcare. Almost everything around us, including home appliances, infrastructure, automotive, healthcare equipments, and educational tools, all are made available us through technological means. So there are some remarkable technology that have been playing important role in the field, like I can say Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, drones, video conferencing, virtual realities, data sciences, and cloud services, etc. So now I would like to tell you that how artificial intelligence or Internet of Things are playing very important role in the field of library and information science. Many people, many our allies professionals who are working in various libraries and information centers, they are using these technology in their day-to-day activities in their organization. So now come to the next point, that is called what is Google Suite. Google Suite is basically, it is a Google workplace now, was first launched in the year 2006 as Google Apps. Later on, it is rebranded as G Suite, and in full form I can say it is a Google Suite. In the year 2016, it was rebranded, and later in the year 2020, it was named as Google Workplace. So Google Workplace, formerly known as Google Apps, or later we can say it is a Google Suite. It is a collection of cloud computing, productivity, and collaborative tools, softwares, and products developed and marketed by Google. So Google Workplace consists of many apps for various types of work like Gmail, calendar, drives, Meet, Google Meet, Docs, spreadsheets, slides, sites, and forms, etc. So now I would like to discuss one by one these all apps in my later slide. So now let's before that discuss with advantage of using Google Suite applications. So it is very easy to use. These apps are very user friendly. They are having a simple interface, seamless integration within apps. If the person is having little bit knowledge about computer, they can also access these apps very easily. There is no difficulties at all for using these apps. So multiple user can work at the same time on the same document. It is a kind of collaborative document, as I said. Through this, we can have the collaboration between the teachers and teachers. We can also say student and teacher. Maybe if we are going to conduct any program at our workplace, and the person who is going to deliver a lecture, if person is not present over there, then they can also give the lecture, or they can connect their user or the audience through remotely by using these apps. So custom email addresses at the domain name of your organization. So this custom email, like we have IGNOU email, we have also subscribed in our organization Google Workplace, and our we are opening our email through Google Gmail. So our domain name will be there. That suppose that the person name is Syam @ignou.ac.in. So no need to install any special software like in other applications. We are separately installing them. But here in Google Suites, we need to just open the browser, and through browser it will be operable. There will be no problem. There is no need to install any other software. So it can be accessed through any web browser. There is no compulsion, and there is no need to have that specific browser, and it can operate through any browser. So user need not to worry for that. Work from anywhere on any devices. So user can work on these apps from anywhere on any devices. There is no problem. The another benefit is that no risk of data loss. So if we are saving data in our computer, personal computer, there are chances to have loss of data. So when we are accessing these application through cloud, there is no chance of risk of data or losing of data. So there are applications like Google Doc, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. These all are compatible with our MS Office, which is the Microsoft product. So it provides additional administrative tools and advanced settings. 24/7 support is there from the Google. If someone is encounter with any issue, they can chat with the Google representative. They can provide them solution, how to get the solution of their particular issue. So it can be aligned as per individual organization requirement. So if someone is going to subscribe the Google Workplace business version, they can customize it as per their own organization requirement. So now the question is that how to access Google Suite applications. So for accessing these Google Suite applications, I will just tell you that first of all, you need to log into your Gmail account. After login to your Gmail account, you will find at the top of the right hand side, you will find there are 9 dots. So that 9 dots indicates that it is a collective tools of Google. So here, as you can see on this screen, there are different types of apps. So I will be discussing them one by one. As you are very much familiar with Google, Gmail. It is a one of the largest service provider, or I can say it is a one of the largest and secure email service provider. That Google is one of the largest and secure service provider in the field of email provider. So application of Google Suite for education. So now what are the applications that we are going to use for the purpose of education? So first of all, these application will enable our educators or our users to establish the communication or to communicate between the user or maybe the peer. If they have the peer, if they are working in team, they can also have the collaboration with their team. And it also provide the streamlined digital workplace, collaborative learning, promoting the use of technology. Through this, we can also promote the use of technologies and create a digital space. By using these applications, we will have the digital workplace where we need not to have any kind of print material. Everything will go through digital form, because we are accessing Google apps through Google Cloud. So everything will go in digital form. So instant feedback to the student. Maybe if there is chances that if a student, they are submitting their assignment, or they have attended quiz, so through this we can also provide the feedback to the users or the students who have submitted their assignment. Teachers can directly write them in real time. They can reply them back what mistake they have done. So accordingly they can just improve their issues, okay, whatever issues they have encountered. So create online quizzes, assignment. So through these applications of the Google Suite, we can also create online quizzes, assignment, or we can also add our users, so that whatever notification we will pass through this these Google classroom, they will be getting that notification very quickly. So these are apps which are included in Google Suite. So now I will tell you this one by one, because we have very less time. So Gmail, as you know very well, it is a popular Gmail service provider of service which is provided by Google. It was launched in the year April 2004. As of 2019, it had 1.5 billion active users worldwide. So it provides 15 GB of storage. A user typically access Gmail in a web, any of the web browser. There is not a compulsion to use a particular web browser. So it is available in 105 languages. So 105 languages it is available worldwide. So Gmail keep your account email encrypted and privately. No one can access your email without the permission of, or without the permission of the Gmail service provider. So Gmail is the largest, as I said, secure email service provider in the world. So Google Drive, as you are also I think familiar with this Google Drive. Google Drive is the storage space for online files. Here files are also organized like in our hard disk. When we will open our computer, we are looking at our files. At that time we will find our files are organized in a systematic way in a folder or file, okay, alphabetically, or it depends on the person or the operator in which way they want to arrange it. So it is very similar to the, as I said, hard drive on your computer. It was launched on April 24, 2012. So Google Docs, it is one of the popular collaborative tool. As I said, under this Google collaborative tools, we have Google Doc, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. So Google Doc is a word processing programs, we can say, like in MS Office we are using MS Word, MS Doc, MS Excel and MS PowerPoint. Like that we have Google Doc, Google Sheet and Google Slides. So here in library science student, now many learners they must be having question in their mind, how do you find useful this Google Doc in the library fields? So dear learners, when you want to submit your assignment to your counselor or your study center or your regional center, at that time if it is a online assignment, through this also, though we have the learning management system, but beside that also this is a kind of learning management software that we have the Google Classroom, that is a kind of learning management software, we can say. Through this also we can also ask our learners to submit their assignment through that Google Classroom. And if someone is working, we have one student assignment internship program. In that internship program, alternate to internship, so there we need to ask student to submit their assignment. Maybe they will be doing 5 library survey, or maybe somebody is doing literature review, or maybe somebody will write term paper. So in that case, how they want to connect with their teacher, how they want to connect with their counselor, so this is the way, this is the right application or right app. I will recommend that if you will go for this Google Doc apps, or if you have the calculation kind of thing, then you can go for the Google Sheet, or if you wanted to present some data, okay, and in that case you can use the Google Slide. So now come to the Google Form. Dear students or dear learners, if as and when you want to conduct survey, so it is a useful for creating online survey, and it is a tool which can analyze the result at real time and from any device. There is no difficulties, or there is no problem that you have to use that particular device. Any device they can use. So it is also very much helpful for the libraries. How it is helpful, I will just stress few points how it will be useful for the libraries. Because when libraries they want to get feedback how their library is performing, if they want to seek user feedback, what user have the perception, what kind of perception they have about our library. As you know very well that we are service provider, okay, so we have to just take time to time feedback from the user, then only we can change or we can modify our existing services. If we find there is any kind of problem or any issues our user find during using of that particular service, so we can also, according to this their feedback, we can also modify our services. Okay, so Google Forms can access through a personal Google account. If someone want to access these Google Forms or Google Docs, any apps, so they need to have their own Google account. So through that they can access. Now come to the Google Classroom. So Google Classroom, as I said, I will tell you that it is a classroom apps which is free and blended learning platform which is provided by Google, and it is developed for educational institution for imparting education. It helps to simplify creating, distributing and grading assignment. It is very easy tool, or we can say it is a very user friendly apps. It is a collaborative tool, and read real time feedback. When you wanted to get the feedback, suppose that student they are getting some issues, we have sent that questionnaire to them and they are getting some issues, or they are not able to open that. So and real time they can send, or they can send question their query to the concerned teacher or concerned authority. So real time they will reply to their question or their query. So multiple classes can be created. As you can see here, I have created multiple classes for taking in classes in different course. So you can see here, and if time permits, then I can also show you the practically. So this is Google Meet. It is a kind of meeting tool or conferencing tool through which we can conduct a real time meeting, and using your web browser you can you know conduct this online conferencing, we can say. And how will you do that? First of all, just log into your Gmail, and there is a option at left hand side. If you will look at, there is a Google Meet option. If you will click on that, if you want to become a host, if you are going to conduct that program, then through that you can just click on that Google Meet, and it will tell you that you want when you want to start that program, so that particular meeting. Then through that you can just start. So securely connect, collaborate, and celebrate from anywhere. If you have any occasion, if you are going to celebrate somebody birthday, or maybe some lecture if you wanted to attend, or if you are going to deliver a lecture, so if you are going to conduct a orientation program for your users at your library, so at that time also you can use this app. So with Google Meet, online classroom can take place. So through this you can also conduct the classes. During the pandemic, I will tell you, during pandemic we have used these application for conducting of our online classes, and I will say this is one of the user friendly app. We never found any kind of difficulties by using this app, and this app is really very user friendly. As I said, through this you can see how many users they have joined. When you want to deliver a lecture, you want to share your presentation, that presentation also can be shared with your audience. And you can also see the user query. If user they wanted to have any query regarding this, then they can also ask you, and you can also check this. This is a another app. It is a one of the popular app that is called Google Calendar. It is a time management or time scheduling app. Through this you can also use this app for your day to day life. Okay, if you want to schedule your time, what are the time or what are the things you need to do every day, so just make a list, and it will give you alarm, or it will alert you. Through this you can also get the alerting message that your meeting is going to held after 5 minutes, or maybe day after tomorrow. Through this I will tell you that this organization can also various regional centers or study center, they can also use this Google Calendar. If they have different types of meetings or different types of classes, so they can also use this Google Calendar. It will be helpful for them, or it will be helpful for libraries as well, for providing alerting services to their users. So now come to the conclusion. Before that, I must tell you that this hands-on practice, if you wanted to, I think you must be able to see my screen. So first of all, log into your Gmail, and as I said, there at the top of the right hand side there are 9 dots, and when you are clicking on that, it shows that Google Apps. Just click on this, it will tell you that what are the apps that you wanted to use. Now Google Map, first very beginning, you can at top of the these apps, you can see at the third number it is Google Map. Now Google Maps, you can also use Google Map as a library professionals, or study center people, or the regional center people, for locating your center. You can also use these services. And now online service provider like online marketing people, they are also using this. Okay, like Zomato, Swiggy, and Amazon, Flipkart, many online service provider, they are also using online this for reaching to the customer. YouTube, as you know very well, this is a good platform. And Gmail, already we have discussed. Contact, this contact will be very much helpful for the helpful app for us whenever we want to save our, if we have connected our mobile through our Gmail, or we have logged into Gmail, if we wanted to save the contact of our all the mobile phone contact, if we wanted to save to our Gmail, or we want to connect with our Gmail, then it will save. there is no matter when your computer, laptop, that mobile gets problem, or maybe due to that technical problem your mobile is getting out of order, or maybe stolen by someone else. So at that time your contact will not go anywhere. You can just again click on that, and uh, you log in on another device, and you can just retrieve all the contact. As I said, this is the Google Doc. Google Doc, if you I will click on this Google Doc. Now this app is opening, and through this app you can here, this is the screen of Google app. Just Google Doc, just click on this blank document. After clicking on this blank doc, you can just write anything, or the assignment you wanted to do, you can just write here something. Okay, so after writing here, as I will tell you that the right top of the right hand side there is a share option. Just click on this share option, and here first of all write the name of your document. Okay, just I will write it and save it. So after saving, it will ask me to whom you want to connect with this, or collaborate with this doc. So I will just choose their, I will select their email ID, and through their email ID I can just suppose that I will I don't have here now any email. Just I will check. Yeah, it is coming now. The first it is coming. Just I will select this email ID. After selecting, it is asking me whether you want to give the permission of editor permission, yeah, viewer permission, or maybe commenter permission. There are three types of permission I need to collaborate when I want to give the permission to another person. So what kind of permission I want to give? You just see what are their role. If the person is closely associated with that particular assignment, then you can give him the editor role. Otherwise, if you are sending them just for viewing purpose, then you can just select the viewer. And if you want to select the commenter, then they can have the option to write the comment if something is not written as per the norms, or as per your teacher perception or teacher requirement. Then they can also comment here. So editor will have everything, okay, all the authority. So now I will close it, and likewise I can just show you that Google Sheet is also there. Google Sheets here, just a minute. Yeah, Sheets is there, Slides is there. Okay, Google Classroom is also there. Google Hangout is there. It is a kind of chat. If you are connected with your you have opened your Gmail and you want to chat with your friends, then at that time you can just uh, have the Hangout option. Then through that you can. So finally, this is the time to conclude. Over the year, technology has revolutionized our world as well as our daily life. As you know, during the pandemic, we were, all of a sudden we were very helpless, and the people, they were thinking what application we have to use for, conducting of class. At that time, it was really very pathetic. So if we are having, or we are, learning digital literacy, or we are learning these skills, so it will be very much helpful for us to cope with the new technology, which is uh, changing time to time. So finally I would say we are living in the digital era, and one must be aware of these apps for doing the right things at right time. So thank you so much. If you have any queries, then you can ask me.
Do you know that the world's population has reached 8 billion on 15th November 2022? And we are still counting. I don't know where do we go from here. The predictions are scary. Any idea how many people can Mother Earth sustain? India's growing population is a serious concern, and we are soon going to become the world's most populous country. Wow, number one. Population is, after all, a human issue. The UN proposed Sustainable Development Goals cannot be achieved unless and until we consider the population dynamics. So, here we are. Indira Gandhi National Open University offers appreciation course on population and sustainable development. The course explores the linkages between population and sustainable development. In this course, there are diverse issues related to population, environmental safety, livelihoods, human health, migration, urbanization, and much more. The course duration is 3 months, but of course, you can complete it within a year. The eligibility of the course is graduation from a recognized university. So, if you are a development professional, working in a government sector, researcher, or keen to know more about the population and sustainable development, the course is must for you. Hurry up and join this course so that we are able to convert population into demographic dividend and not convert it into demographic disaster. For more information, visit www.ignou.ac.in. Thank you.
Good afternoon, learners. I am Dr. Sunita Dhal, faculty with the School of Gender and Development Studies. I welcome all of you to the induction session or introduction session for the certificate program in Gender and Science. What are we going to in this session, what are we going to cover? We are going to cover few of the questions. I'll give an overview of having this program in IGNOU. And second is that what are its courses and what are the key themes or the central themes which have been covered in each of these courses. And with this brief introduction, let's go to the background of having this program. Why the university or the School of Gender and Development Studies thought of having a program in Gender and Science, which is a recent area of intervention for feminist and development practitioners, as well as why there was a need or rationality for having this program in this university. So let's look at the background of the program. When we are looking at the background of the program, we could see that how modern science is both patriarchal and positivistic in nature and in its own origin. So what it has made, it made objectivity as the essential criteria through which it excluded all the forms of knowledge system, in which feminist knowledge system was also feminist knowledge or feminine knowledge forms have gradually excluded. Feminist scholars have offered another view of science by theorizing the concept of standpoint theory. In recent years, you could also see, like in terms of, data. In terms of data, you could see that how women's access to STEM education, that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, education or career, has been debated in international platforms like UN organizations, Sustainable Development Goals, even Action 2030. So in all of these forums, what is, science needs to be, or science education needs to be more diversified in terms of gender inclusivity and inclusivity of other sections or the marginalized sections of the society. And let's, from international arena, we move on to India. In India, feminist research studies have come up with recommendations to improve women's participation in science. Not only feminist scholars, they question like how science is androcentric in nature, and what are its, how scientific institutions and its cultures are not gender neutral. Rather, there is a subtle gender bias which exists in the culture, practice, and structure of scientific institutions. So, under these background, or with these background, the program was conceptualized with SOGTS. And what does this program provide? You must be wondering what are the key components if take away after having this program. After undertaking this program. This program provides an unique opportunity to research scholars, scientists, policymakers, and development professionals to critically engage with interdisciplinary fields. Not only it is women in science, also women's question and gender question in sectors like agriculture, health, technology, and mental health concerns. So all of these areas have been taken into consideration, and the program has been designed to provide a holistic understanding of gender in science by covering basic concepts like even understanding gender. How do you understand gender? Gender is a socially constructed category, and how does it intersect with science, technology, and society? These questions, these are the basic questions or concepts, have also been taken in this particular program, so that you can actually build or enable the learners of this program to be able to regender the structure, culture, and practices wherever you work or through your own research. The program objectives include to impart theoretical concepts of science from a feminist lens, to enrich capacity of learners with regard to policies, programs, and schemes related to women in science, and to enable learners to critically engage with the societal science approach in areas of STEM, ecology, health, climate change, and so on. So with these program objectives, let's go to the structure of the program. The program structure, the program will have 3 courses, and the total credit structure is 18. And these 3 courses, the first course is BGS 002, that is Gender, Science, Technology, and Society. BGS 003, Socio-Political Dimensions of Gender and Science. BGS 004, that is the last course, Gendered Perspectives on Health. What is there in every course? So, I thought, how will I give a kind of a brief introduction to this course? Then I realized that, it is not, because of the paucity of time, it's not possible for us to, in fact, deal with block-wise. So I thought, let's have a kind of an introduction to 3 blocks and then the key themes which have been covered in these 3 blocks. So this is how we are going to go with this discussion. So the first course, BGS 002, that is the introductory course of this program, is having total of 5 blocks, and the first or the initial 3 blocks are Introduction to Gender in Science, Historical and Theoretical Context, that is block 2, and block 3 is Women and Local Knowledge. So when you actually look at these blocks, or what I call it, look at these themes. So it is actually the first block is bringing or debating on the basic concepts, even if understanding gender, and looking at gender as an analytical category, and how does this category intersect with society, science, and technology. It's the debates or the theoretical underpinnings have been discussed in this particular block. So from there we move on to the historical. How do we do science? Like I said in the first, the first PPT, that science is androcentric in nature. So, or it is positivistic in its own character. So that you have to actually look at, like, historically, how does it differentiate? Science is part of the society, or science is something outside, it exists outside of the society. These questions have come into these questions have been discussed in unit 4 and unit 5, and the last is unit 6, that is women in modern science. It is actually looking at the exclusion of women from doing science or pursuing science, both historically and in the current period. So what are the key points of these 3 blocks? It looks at, how notions of femininity and masculinity shape gender roles. For example, why a girl is behaving like a girl vis-a-vis a boy, right? So this is somehow, there is a gender role which has been, or there is a socialization, gender socialization is happening. And with this, you could see that this kind of gender stereotypes or attitudes have been reflected across different institutions, and science is also part of such structure. And gender and power relations persist across caste, class, ethnicity, and other institutions. So here we are talking about, there is a hierarchical relationship between genders, right? And how there is a power that has been expressed through the ideology of patriarchy, and such ideology exists across institutions. Then knowledge production is not gender neutral, which means that, do you really, wherever you are, you can think of that how a particular knowledge not only gets constructed but also gets communicated, right? So even in the advertisement you could see that, a particular technology is been projected with certain gender, or with certain gender roles, or what you call gender socializations or gender attitudes. So this is how you could, one can understand that knowledge production or construction is not gender neutral. And how scientists and feminists have engaged with the question of gender, like women's nature or role is not innate, it is not universal. In that sense, gender is a social category. So there is a biological difference between men, women, and other genders, but however, the category of gender is socially constructed, and therefore, with changing time, you could see that there is a change in the way the idea of gender is changing, and therefore we are here to speak about women in science or gender in science, because how, like, when you could see that the data which was been very less in terms of women's access to science, but now it is increasing over a period of time. So in that sense, neither women's nature or role, they are innate or they are fixed, but rather it is also changing, because it has to change in relation to the societal change. Then comes the technology. Technology becomes the agency through which gender stereotypes or attitudes have been expressed. Like, whether it is any kind of technology, through which, like if I look at the sonography technology. So if the technology itself is not patriarchal, but the way it has been used, it is patriarchal in nature. So it is very much embedded in a patriarchal construction. There are multiple paradigms and worldviews within which science develops. So when there is a positivistic science, then even Thomas Kuhn, you are going to read about Thomas Kuhn in these blogs, that how he speaks of how he argues for an alternative paradigm through which science can develop. Similarly, how feminists have contributed to the development and the expansion of science. The Enlightenment in the 18th century was a turning point celebrating the new age of reason, objectivity, and criticality. So that is the 17th century, where the difference had emerged between what is science and what is common sense knowledge. It has, the differences largely had begun to come between the science, or the what we call as scientific knowledge, vis-a-vis the common sense knowledge. Like I have taken from the chapters only, the units only, that Linda Londa Schimber states that in the history of science, the understanding of human revolution was all about the evolution of man. So, if you really look at whether there is an evolution, like even if I give the example of medical technology, right? The medical model believes in the assumption of the two binaries. So they neglect the third gender as well. Similarly, the medical research is primarily, it historically it was based on the model of the body of the man. So you could see that the way science progressed, or the human evolution had taken place, it was all about the evolution of man, while excluding the evolution of the female body. Then the last two blocks of course one are women science and technology. It is primarily looking at the workplaces and feminism and science. That's the concluding block, where we are talking about what are the feminist critique of science, how do they critique not only science and technology, so that you could see that there is a change in the gender technology science interface, and what are the key principle, or what you can call as feminist alternatives. So the key points of these two blocks include the gender divide in the sphere of technology. So whether you look at ICT, or agriculture, or health, so these are the primary sectors. If you could look at, you can very well see that there is a gender divide, and this in ICT more and more digital divide across geographical regions, demographies, and social characteristics or constructs, and gender is gender divide becomes more prominent. Gender gaps in access to STEM education and career has been a reality. So I could see, I'll show some of the data, and you can read in the units also how how does gender gap persist in terms of access to STEM education and career. And what are the key principles of alternative methodologies of doing science? The feminist scholars, they look at the reclaiming feminist principles and how we see and interpret any context differently, or any social reality differently. Even, there are empiricists, like and there are feminist scholars who theorize standpoint theory as a feminist form of knowledge, or how through standpoint theory we can actually interpret social reality differently in specific to women, men, and other genders. Like, I was talking about the data. So it is the women's access to science education. So 2016 and the country-wise data. So it is the data like maximum 40 less than 45% women, they have access to science education in graduation. So you could see that in India it is much better compared to other countries. So in graduation we have good data, but when in like let's say in research, so the data will there is a kind of a diminishing data we receive. Similarly, like women into leadership position, you could see there are very less women, they are into the leadership position in science or scientific institution. Now let's come to the course BGS 003, that is the second course, and it has its block Women in Science Education, Indian Policies and Programs, Women in Industrial Sectors. So what are the key points of these blocks is importance of science communication. It's not about creating science, but how do we actually the whole question of scientific literacy. What is scientific literacy, and how do we communicate science to the common mass so that they can articulate, they can even use the technology as well as the the scientific know-how, and apply in their own lives. So there are movement like People Science Movement, Indian I think People Science Network. they're working in developing science literacy, not only in through institutional communication, but how does it communicate across the community or within the people. And gender as an occupational barriers in science. So gender is also seen as an occupational barriers. Like, even you really look at internationally and in our country also, certainly that barrier it exists in terms of their role as a mother, role as a you know or having a reproductive body. So in that sense, how to balance the work life balance for women is a big question when it comes to the occupational barriers in science. And but how can we overcome this? So there are policies in India and internationally, but now we'll just look at Indian policies in terms of how are we going to challenge those barriers and change the situation. You have the national policy for empowerment of women, you have science and technology policy 2013, science technology innovation policy 2013, and in the 12th 5-year plan, Kiran, that is knowledge involvement in research advancement through nurturing women scientists. So these are, there are other programs or schemes are there, but these are major schemes which are which are there in place by formulated by the government of India to be able to enable women and girls to pursue science education and career. Not only science education, science research as well. Blocks 4 and 5 are having current trends and emerging debates in gender and science. Again, from a kind of a practical analysis of women's question in science, we are again moving to the international initiative of gendering science. And what is the culture? What is the universal culture of in terms of excluding women from science? And is there a kind of a global pattern in in gender disparity, whether it is the education, health, or in terms of your vaccines? So what does this global pattern emerge? So what are the key points here we are in these blocks we are discussing is that women still represent just 29% of researchers globally. Only 3% of Nobel Prizes for science have been awarded to women. And so where is this gender gap internationally? These questions have also been addressed. And question of mentorship, why there is a gap. It's not about we know that there is a gap, but why there is a gap? Because there is there is a demand of mentorship, network, or having role models in decision making position, role model of women scientists in decision making position, and the question of leadership in science. So these are some of the issues have been dealt in these two blocks. And women in different industries. So we did speak about the women or in scientific institution, women as women scientists, but there are women who are associated or are working with industries. So primarily 3 industries have been taken into account, that is health industry, small scale industry, and manufacturing industry. And why these industries we have thought of that? It's majority of women are working in these industries, and what are their representation in terms of data, in terms of positions, in terms of their work culture have been dealt in these units. And the last is the intersectionality debates within science. So here gender is not the only question here we are talking about, but more or less we are also looking at caste, class, and gender together when we are looking at or when we are debating the feminist question of science, both theoretically and in the practical sense. And this is the last course, that is BGS 004. This entire course is dedicated for health, because health is something where you could see that there is also discrimination, but yet there is also a change, like women in terms of women access to healthcare is also a kind of a area which needs attention. In the key points of these blogs are the like gender biases in various components of medical research, such as clinical trials, contraceptive research, and vaccines. So, in COVID-19 vaccines, also, you could see that yes, like even the repercussion of vaccine on the women's body, kind of many kind of research has come, even women's access to vaccination. Some there are data which are you could also read, and you could see that how in contraceptive research, vaccines, you could see that there is a kind of a gender discrimination that exists or persists. Healthcare and the non-normative gender, like healthcare model assumes that there are two gender, the gender operates in binaries, but how about the non-normative gender? How would they access to healthcare is something which has been also discussed. How girls are eliminated at the conception phase itself, like and like in Indian communities, there is also a lot of societal pressure, or there is a culture of male child. So all of these questions, like when we are talking about health, also the determinants of health are social, cultural, uh, and economic, psychological. So, when we are talking about health and gender, we really need to contextualize in relation to society and culture. The last two blocks are on mental health issues and gender and disability. And these two blocks have the key points like intersecting gender, mental health, and the whole question of care, like women as caregivers. Similarly, the how there is a marginalization or exclusion of gender when we are talking about mental health issues. Through case studies and through conceptual tools, these questions have been addressed in the units. And the last is disability, masculinity, and reproduction. So, how such question of person with disability and the kind of gender notions or gender stereotypes attach with or intersect with the concept of disability is something which has been dealt. What is disability? How do we define? What is the social model of understanding disability? And in relation to gender, what are its challenges, both in terms of masculinity and femininity? So these questions have been interrogated deeply in the last block of the course. And now let's go to we are towards the fag end of our session, and I must, as a program coordinator, I must, request my learners to go for attempt the assignment. So in assignment, there are a couple of questions. How to approach the assignment? It's the original assignment, and because assignment, sometimes we give questions on concept, sometimes some practical question we give, sometimes the question is on macro or the micro data. So kindly attempt the assignment in your own words, no plagiarism, and reflective and analytical questions. So, even if there are concepts, but always give your analysis at the end of your answer, or some kind of reflections or recommendations you can give, so that to be able to actually how do you actually apply those concepts or understood those concepts in relation to the existing society. That is also an important aspect or dimension of attempting the assignment. And we accept handwritten scanned assignment, and you can send those assignments to sogds.assignment@ignou.ac.in. This is the email address available with the school, and you can submit handwritten and scanned assignment. And at the end, I conclude that in the certificate program, you can always interrogate the critical question that exists in gender, and that exists in the area of gender and science, and the program has been able to cover extensively the new areas, or what we can say the interdisciplinary areas, so that the women's question or the gender question can be um, dealt in not only in terms of interrogation but in terms of policies, programs and scheme. And with this I thank all of you for the session, and at the end we have our phone numbers and email address. Like I'm Sunita Dhal, and Professor Savita Singh is also the program coordinator for this program. Our emails are there in the PPT, and you can always, write back to us for any kind of academic queries. And I thank all of you.
We wear clothes on a daily basis. But have we ever wondered, where do our clothes come from? Who makes our clothing? And who are the people and the process responsible for the whole manufacturing of our clothing? If you want to know more about this, Indira Gandhi National Open University from the School of Continuing Education has launched a program which is Certificate in Apparel Merchandising. There are many benefits after doing this program. You can become a designer in various fields. It can be fashion designer, apparel designer, costume designer, or even a textile designer. One can also work as a fashion consultant. Research and development is another field which one can take up after doing this certificate course. Going into academics is another perk after doing this program. Getting into fashion houses or fashion studios as an intern is also a very good option post doing the certificate in apparel merchandising. The basic eligibility of the program is 10+2. The duration of the program is 6 months to 2 years. The program is also available for both the admission cycles, which is July and January. The exams are conducted twice a year, in June and December. So what are you waiting for? Join this program and get an enriching knowledge in the field of apparel merchandising. And to do so, you can log on to the official website of the university, www.ignou.ac.in.
Welcome learners. In the first session of the course MST 11, this course is the first course of the master degree program MSc in Applied Statistics offered by Statistics Discipline School of Sciences, IGNOU, New Delhi. Today we will discuss first session on the first unit. This course has 11 units, and today we are going to start the first unit and the first session of the first unit. Titles of today's session is Quantity, Interval and Function of the Single Variable. In this session, let us discuss the outline of our presentation. First, we will discuss what is the family of numbers, because we are to understand the quantity and the functions. First, we should understand what is the definition of numbers, different family of numbers. Then quantity and its types, and interval and its types, and lastly we will discuss what is the definition of a function, what notation we use for the function, and pictorial presentation of the function. You from school days, you are familiar with the number 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. This complete set of numbers 1, 2, 3 and so on, this list will never end. This set is known as family of natural numbers or set of counting numbers, because these numbers are also used for counting the things. Suppose in a room there are 3 chairs, then you count 1, 2, 3. Suppose there are 10 tables in a room, then you count 1, 2, 3 and so on up to 10. So these numbers are also used for counting. That's why these numbers are also known as counting numbers or natural numbers. So when we write these sets in these curly braces, this is a set, and this set of natural numbers is denoted by this symbol n. But if we have, suppose there is no chair in the room, then we want to count how many chairs are there. So the absence of chair, there is no number in this set of natural numbers. So if we include 0 in the set of natural numbers, 0 represent absent of something. So if there is no chair in the room, we can say that number of chair in that room is 0. So if we include 0 in the set of natural numbers, it is the family of whole numbers. And if we also include the set of all negative numbers, -1, -2, -3 and so on, together with the whole numbers, then this set is known as the set of integers, and set of integers is denoted by z. And next family of numbers is the rational numbers, a number of the form p by q, where p and q are integer, and this p comma q belongs into z, means this is the z, means p and q may be any of the these numbers, but there is one condition: q cannot be equal to 0, because q is present in the denominator, and in mathematics division by 0 is not allowed. So there is one restriction: q is not equal to 0. And this within open bracket p comma q means this is GCD of p and q. GCD where this symbol pq represent the greatest common divisor, GCD, or highest common factor, HCF of p and q should be equal to 1. For example, if you have 6 by 15, generally we don't write 6 by 15. What we do, we write, we cancel the common factor. 6 by 15 can be written as 2 by 5. So those type of numbers are written in the form p by q, where p and q have common factor 1. Now the family of irrational numbers. The number which cannot be expressed in the form p by q is known as the irrational number, and there is no standard notation for the set of all irrational numbers. Like we have the notations for set of all rational numbers q, set of all integer z, and set of all natural number n. So in the case of the irrational numbers, you cannot write, for example, root 2, root 3. If you write 2.1, then 1 0, then 1, then 2 0, then 1, then 3 0, then 1, and so on. This is also a irrational number, because irrational numbers cannot be expressed in the form p by q, where p and q are integer and q not equal to 0. If suppose you have two, if in a bag we have all rational numbers, in another bag we have all irrational numbers, and if we put both bags in a big bag, and that bag is known as the set of real numbers. This symbol is read as union of q and r. Q means set of rational number, I means set of irrational numbers. If we include all the set of rational as well as irrational, then that set is known as the set of real numbers. Family of complex numbers. If a and b are any real numbers, then a plus iota b type of number are known as complex numbers, where this iota is nothing but the square root of -1, with the property that I square is equal to -1. Now we come to the point that is the first in the title, quantity. Quantity in mathematics or statistics, there is that thing on which you can apply for basic mathematical operations: addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. Anything on which you can apply these four operations is known as quantity. Now, for example, 2 and 5. If you have some numbers 2, 5, 7, 8, you can add them, you can subtract them. These are examples of quantity. Population mean, because in other courses of this program you will use many times population mean, population standard deviations, population variance. All those are also comes under the category of quantity. We will discuss why. Number of children per family, because a number of children in a family may be 0, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. So those are also that is the number category. Number of children per family is also a quantity. All real numbers between 2 and 3, including 2 and 3, etc., are also the examples of quantity. And we will use these type of quantity in different courses of this program. Now this is the visualization of this classification of quantity. Quantity can be classified as constant quantity and variable quantity. And constant quantity can be further classified as a fixed constant and arbitrary constant. In mathematics we use the word arbitrary constant, and in statistics we use parameter. And variable quantity can be further classified as a continuous variable and discrete variable. We will discuss each quantity one at a time. Now, constant quantity, a quantity which remains same or unchanged throughout a particular problem or distribution is known as a constant quantity. For example, constant quantity can be further classified as a fixed constant and arbitrary constant. For example, this 2 is a fixed constant. What is the definition of this fixed constant? Those types of constant which always remain same, unchanged, independent of the place, time, and are known as fixed constant. For example, 2. If you use 2 in morning or in evening, or if you use 2 in India or some other country, 2 will remains 2. Or 3 by 2, root 13, minus root 17, pi, etc. all are fixed numbers. They will not change their value. If a 2 if a class 2 student use 2 or a PhD student use 2, then in both cases 2 will remain the same thing. Now the number pi, you know that circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, and the diameter of the circle is 2r. So if you take the ratio of circumference to the diameter of the circle, then circumference is 2 pi r, diameter of the circle is 2r. So 2 cancel with this, r cancel with this, we get pi. This pi is a fixed constant. This will not change to circle to circle. In this circle also, if you find out this length of the whole circumference divided by this diameter, then this will be you will get pi. If you have the bigger circle and you find out the circumference and then divided by their diameter of the circle, you will get the same quantity pi. So pi will not depend on the circle, it is a fixed constant. Now the arbitrary constant, another type of the constant is arbitrary constant, or we also use the sometime word parameter. Generally parameter we will use for the population parameters like mean, median, standard deviations. Arbitrary constant, those types of constant which remain same in one problem but vary from problem to problem or distribution to distribution, are known as arbitrary constants. And arbitrary constants are generally denoted by a, B, C, L, M, N, alpha, beta, gamma, and mu, sigma, square, rho, etc. These are the notations we use. We will explain this concept of the arbitrary constant with the help of this diagram. You know that y is equal to mx plus c. This is the equation of a straight line. In school mathematics, you have studied this type of equation, y is equal to mx plus c. M is nothing but m is the slope of this line, and c is the known as y-intercept. Now this is the x-axis, and here this is the 0 on, and this is here 0. So this is the y-axis, this vertical line. This vertical line is y-axis, and this horizontal line is your x-axis. This horizontal line is your x-axis, which passing from 0. So this is your origin, because this is the vertical axis and this is your horizontal axis. Both intersect at this point. This is your origin. Now uh, this is the x-axis. This line makes this angle with the x-axis, and this angle is 45 degree. So, and the slope of this line is tangent 45 degree. Tangent 45 is 1. So this value of m is nothing but m is the slope of the line, and here slope is 1. So value of m is 1, and so we are left with only one constant c. So y is equal to mx plus c. If you take c equal to 0, you get this line, green line. This is the line for this pass from the origin. And if you take c is equal to 2, here this notation also represented by, if you take 0, then we get green line. If you take 1, and then this red line, this blue line, this x equal c equal to 1, this corresponding to c equal to 1, you will get this line, because y-intercept is 1. This is your y, this is the origin, this is the y-intercept is 1. So this pass from this, and this y, when c equal to 2, you will get this line. So you see that from line to line value of c changing. For in the green line, everywhere value of c is 0. On this blue line, value of c is 2 everywhere, and on this line we have value of c equal to 2. So line to line value of c changes, but in a particular line this value of c remains fixed constant. So this type of things which vary from one, for in this case one line to line, it changes from line to line, but for one particular line it remains same. Those type of constant quantity are known as arbitrary constant. Another example in next course, this is the first course that we are discussing. In the next course, probability theory. In probability theory course, you will study normal distribution. We have taken one example here, normal distributions. You know that normal distribution, we have two co-parameters, mu, mean, population mean, and sigma, standard deviation of the population. So here mu is 50 and 70. So this black color and this red color are decided by this value of mu. If mu is 50, we get the figure in black color. If mu is 70, you will get figure in red color. So mu equal to 50, in both these figures mu is 50, and this is the mu 50. This is the mean. And if you change mu 50 to 74, you will get this figure. So for this normal distribution, this value of mu is 50. For this distribution, normal distribution, also we have value of mu is 50. But sigma, standard deviation is 1. We have this square figure, square plotted by square. This in this case we have sigma is equal to 1, and 1.5. If we have taken the points, 1.5, this is your 1.5. In 1.5 you have this plotted by the points. So this sigma varies from plot to this plot to this plot, and similarly here from this plot to this plot sigma varies. So values of sigma varies from normal distribution, one normal distribution to another normal distribution. But for one particular normal distribution, its value remains constant, fixed constant. But it varies from normal distribution to normal distribution. So this type of constant quantity are known as arbitrary constant. Now the variable quantity. If you go the earlier slide, see quantity, we have discussed constant quantity. These are two types, fixed constant and arbitrary constant. Now we come to the variable quantity, and it is of two types, continuous and discrete. Now variable quantity, if a quantity which may change its value even in a particular problem is known as variable. For example, you consider this quadratic equation. You have studied this type of quadratic equation in school mathematics. So factor of this equation is x minus 4 into x plus 3 equal to 0. After solving this equation, you get x equal to 4 and x equal to minus 3. So within the same problem, you are getting two values of x. So this is the nature of the variable. Means you are getting different value in the same problem. Another example, suppose variable x represents the weight of the students of a class. And suppose in a class there are 40 students. So suppose roll number 1 student has weight 40 kg. For first student weight is 40, then second student, roll number 2 student has a weight suppose 45 kg. For second students, its value of the variable is 45. So if the variable change from in the same problem, then those type of quantity are known as variable quantity. Now the variable quantity can be further classified into two categories, discrete and continuous. Discrete means if you can write the numbers in a sequence, you can tell what is the first number and what is the next number, what is next number. For example, number of children in a family may be 0, and you know after 0 next possibility for the number of children is 1, and after 1 the next possibility is 2, and after 2 next possibility is 3, because number of children cannot be 1.2 or 1.7. After 1 directly possibility of number of children in a family is 2, after 2 next possibility is 3, after 3 next possibility of the number of children is 4, and so on. So you can write these number in a sequence. So this type of variable are known as discrete variable. Now the continuous variable. Continuous variable means if the nature of the quantity is such that it can take any possible value between two certain limits, then such a quantity is known as a continuous in nature or continuous variable. For example, if you consider you cannot write all real numbers from 2 to 3 in a sequence, because if you say after 2 what is the next number, after 2 if you say the next number is 2.1, this is not the next number after 2, because 2.1, 2.01, this is the number between 2 and 2.1. But this is also not the next number after 2, because 2.001, this number is still between 2 and 2.01. So in this way you cannot you write all numbers between 2 and 3, and even you cannot write what is the next number after 2. So this type of quantity are known as continuous quantity. And next let us take another example of the this, because this concept of the discrete and continuous is very important. Because let us take one or two examples to explain the idea of this discrete and continuous random variables. Suppose number of accidents at a particular point on a road. Number of accident may be 0, number of accident may be 1, after 1 next possibility is 2, after 2 next possibility is 3, and so on. So you can write the possibility for the number of accidents. So this comes in the category of the discrete variable. But now if you take, suppose at the time of birth height of a baby is 1.2, 1 foot 2 inch, and after say 20 years height of that baby is say 6 feet. Now the height of that baby has taken all possible values between 1 feet 2 inch and 6 feet, but you cannot write them in a sequence, because you cannot tell what is the next possible value after the 1 feet 2 inch. You cannot say that next possible next value after 1 feet 2 inch is 1 feet 3 inch, because 1 feet 3 before 1 feet 3 inch the height of the baby was 1 feet 2.1 inch. This is also not next value after 1 feet 2 inch. 1 feet 2.01 inch. This is also not next value after 1 feet 2 inch. So you cannot write even the next value after 1 feet 2 inch. So this is the example of the continuous quantity. Similarly, weight. Suppose the weight of a student before 10 days is 50 kg, and after 10 days weight is say 51 kg. In these last 10 days, suppose weight increases by 1 kg. Now you cannot what all the possible values between the weight 50 kg to 151 kg, all the values are taken by the weight of that students, but you cannot write them in a sequence, because you cannot tell what is the next value after 50 kg. If you say that 50 kg 1 gram, that is also not the next value after 50 kg, because 50 kg 1 by 10 gram is also the possible value of the weight after 50 kg. That is also not the next value, possible value. 50 kg, take the 100th portion of a gram, 1 by 100 gram. That is also the one of the possible value after 50 kg. So you similarly, this is also not next value after 50 kg. The weight is 50 kg. Then take the thousandth portion of the 1 gram, 1 by 1000 gram. So you cannot write what is the next value after 50 kg. So this type of situation where you cannot write the possible values in a sequence, those type of variables comes under the category of the continuous variable. And where you can write the values in a sequence, those type of variables come under the category of the discrete random variable. So this is very important concept. We will because in next course probability theory we will discuss discrete probability distribution and continuous probability distributions. So you should understand what is the meaning of the discrete random variable and continuous random variable and the distinction between them. Now come to the definition of the interval. Let R be the set of all real numbers. Then a set I is contained in R is a means subset of R is said to be interval if you have two numbers between this interval A and B, and X is any number between A and B, then X belongs into I. If you a set is of satisfy this condition, if you have any two elements A and B in this interval and X is a number between A and B, then X will definitely lie between in this set I. Then such type of set are known as interval in mathematics. For example, the set of all real numbers satisfying the condition x is greater than or equal to 2 and less than or equal to 3 is an interval, whereas x cannot take where x can take any real value between 2 and 3, including 2 and 3. Types of interval. Now interval types of interval is dictated by two criteria. First is whether it contains its endpoints and or does not contain endpoints, and another criteria is whether the length is finite or infinite. On this basis you can classify the intervals. Now on the basis of the endpoints criteria we can classify, we will say an interval is open if it contains all the points between the endpoints, means A, and if we have the starting point A and ending point B, but if a set contains all the numbers which are greater than A and less than B but not equal to A and not equal to B, means A and B are not included in this set, then those type of intervals are known as open interval. For example, if you take A equal to 2 and B equal to 5, then this interval, if x belongs into this interval, it means x is greater than 2 and less than 5. Similarly, closed interval. If endpoints are also included in the interval, then that interval is known as closed interval. For example, if x belongs to this, then x greater than or equal to 2 and less than or equal to 5. Now the types of the interval. Another type, that is left open and right closed interval. Left open means left endpoint is not included in the interval and right endpoint included in the interval, means x this is known as left open, right closed. Similarly, left closed and right open means left endpoint included in the interval but right endpoint does not include in the interval. Length of an interval, because the second criteria of classification of the interval is the length of the interval. Now length of interval, all these interval, this is open interval, this is closed, this is left open, right closed, or this is left closed, right open, all those intervals have the length is defined as b minus a. So and this, for example, length of this interval 2 to 7 is 7 minus 2 5. Now length of this interval 2 to infinity is infinity minus 2 infinity, and length of this interval minus infinity to 5 is 5 minus infinity 5 plus infinity infinity. So this is the length. Now if the length of an interval is finite, then it is known as the finite interval, and if the length of an interval is infinite, then we say that the interval is infinite. All these type of intervals are infinite. Now this is the visualization of the types of interval. Now this, if we have the open interval, we make an open hole at the point, this is the open interval from 2 to 5, means 5 and 2 are not included. If interval is closed, we make a solid circle at the end points. This is the from left open, because here we have open a hole and here is solid dot, so it is right closed. So this way you can represent intervals in the form of the of a visualization form. Now the function. This is the last topic that we are going to discuss in today's sessions. Functions is a let x and y be two non-empty sets. Then a rule which associates each element of x to a unique element of y is called a function. X is called domain of the function, y is called codomain of the function. And those elements of y for which there exists at least one x, such that y is equal to fx, is called the range of the function. Now this you can visualize function as a treating function as a machine. This is the, if you define a function from z to z, fx is equal to x square minus 1, x square plus 1. Now you take the input 0, 0 square plus 1, the output is 1. So if you take input as 1, output will be 1 square plus 1, 2. So this way you can visualize function as a machine. Now if we take a domain of the function as daughters and range of the function as mothers, then you can visualize this. The daughter of the, we have d1, d2, d3 daughters, and this is the mothers. Now this is a function because both conditions satisfies. All daughters have mothers and no daughter have two mothers. But this is not a function because this daughter has two mothers. And this is also not a function because this daughter does not have any mother. So this and this are not functions, but this first A part and D part are functions. So and if you talk about what is domain, this is the domain of this function d1, d2, all the daughters. And what is the codomain? All mothers. And what will be the range? Range will be only those mothers who have at least one daughter, m1, m2, m3. So in in this slide we have just written the domain, range and codomain of the functions discussed on the previous slide. Now in today's session we have discussed family. We started with the family of numbers. Then we discussed what is the quantity, what are the types of quantity. After that we discussed what is the interval, what are the types of intervals, and we and the last topic that we discuss in today's session is functions. Function is a rule which associate each element of a set to a unique element of another set. And then we discuss what is the domain of the function, what is the range of the function, what is the codomain of the functions. So thank you learners to be with us.
Do you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system? Or already part of any media system, want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance the media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer innovative programs in the field of journalism and mass communication that sets the benchmark of high quality learning and teaching process at the national level. We offer these programs across the country with the help of our regional network as well as study center. Same manner, many of our programs are offered through online mode with a sophisticated learning management system. SOGNMS offers programs from PhD in journalism and mass communication till certificate level. We have masters in journalism and mass communication. The eligibility is bachelor's degree, and we are introducing this program in 3 languages: Hindi, Tamil and English. Students from national and international students can join either through online mode as well as in the distance mode. We have 4 postgraduate diploma programs, specialized areas in the field of development communication, digital media, electronic media, and journalism and mass communication program. And all these 4 programs are available in distance mode. 2 programs are available in online mode, development communication and digital media. And we have specialized certificate program in community radio. IGNOU employs various media and communication tools for better teaching and learning process. School of Journalism and New Media Studies utilizes this media system for delivering all our programs. Come and join with us for exploring a new career and enhance your media skills.
Hello and welcome to this program. Today I will talk about our certificate program, that is Certificate in International Humanitarian Law. This program is offered by School of Law, and this is a 6-month duration program, and currently it is offered in English. So I will today talk about the rights of civilian population during armed conflict. So this is one of the important topics which is covered in the program, and this is related to course 1, that is BLE 35, BLE 035. So if we let me just give you some background before coming to the topic. After Second World War in 1949, 4 Geneva Conventions came into existence, and the purpose was to mitigate the sufferings of armed conflict in the future. So the first convention was related to land warfare, second was related to sea warfare, third convention was related to prisoners of war, rights of prisoners of war, and fourth convention is related to rights of civilian population during war or armed conflict. Armed conflict is a wider term than the war. That's why it is used in these conventions, and we are also today using the term armed conflict. So basically the rights which the civilian population have during war or armed conflict are covered in 4th Geneva Convention, that is the 4th Geneva Convention of 1949, and the first protocol, additional protocol number 1 of 1977. So these are the main instruments which they deal with the rights which are available to civilian population. So you can see in the slide, in order to ensure respect for and protection of the civilians population and civilian objects, the parties to the conflict shall at all times distinguish between the civilian population and combatant, and between civilian objects and military objects. So this is a very important point to be noted, because during armed conflict there are two types of situations, two types of people or installations or objects. One is directly related to armed conflict, directly related to war, military installations, people who are directly involved in the armed conflict, soldiers, etc. But at the same time, there are people who are not directly involved in the armed conflict. Civilian populations are not directly involved. Civilian institutions, school, colleges, hospitals, religious places, cultural places, etc., marketplaces, etc., etc. These are civilian places and objects. So every party involved in the armed conflict is bound to distinguish between these these two. And also, there may be situations where the people who are involved in the armed conflict, even the forces involved in the armed conflict, may have certain people who are not directly participating in the hostilities, such as medical people, people who are providing logistics, foods, uh, etc. These people are prisoner of war, people who have been captured by the parties, by the conflicting parties. These people are not directly involved in the hostilities. So these people are also protected. So you may find certain provisions of Convention 3, that is convention related to prisoners of war. The provisions contained in the third convention are also in such cases applicable when we talk about the distinction between civilian and military objects and people. So the next slide, it basically talks about who are civilian population, and the certain sections have been articles have been referred in the in this slide. Basically, the people who are not directly involved in the people in the hostilities, people, civilian populations, ordinary civilians of belonging to various walks of lives. These are the people who are not directly involved in the hostilities. So these people need to be protected. Now, there are certain points which needs to be taken when we talk about the rights of civilian population. There are certain which are protected in the strict, those civilians who find themselves in the hands of the parties to the conflict, or occupying powers of which they are not nationals. These people are also protected. The protection is not only available to the nationals of that country, but also the people who belong to different countries, different nations, because these they are also the people. Even the enemy, the civilians belonging to the enemy country, the country who are involved in the hostilities, because these people, the main crux, or you can say the guiding philosophy behind this convention and protocol is that the people who are vulnerable, people who are not participating in the conflict, people who do not possess arms, they are not posing any threat to the warring parties. These people should be given protection, and these people should not be attacked unnecessarily. In the next slide, we can say there are certain other points which the protocol of 1977, protocol first, It prohibits the forms of ill treatment. The fourth convention as well as the protocol, first protocol of 1970, it also prohibits maltreatment of the civilians, and there are certain examples which are such as physical or moral or torture, coercion, particularly to obtain information, as well as any measure of such a character as to cause them physical suffering or extermination of protection or protected persons. Extermination means expulsion, a kind of expulsion. These are also prohibited. Measures in the latter category includes murder, torture, corporeal punishment, mutilation, and medical torture, medical, you can say, medical or scientific experiment, not necessary initiated by the medical not necessitated by the medical treatment. So any kind of research, any kind of medical or scientific research, because in normal course also, in peacetime also, there are certain conditions when we use people for medical research, for testing any medicine or vaccine, etc. Firstly, the informed consent is necessary. The people who are involved in the research, people who offer themselves as samples, should give their consent, and there are certain other safeguards. The necessary safeguards should be available to them, and in case of any mishappening, the insurance cover, the family members should be properly compensated. So there are certain requirements in civilian times also. Therefore, in the conflict zone also, these things are prohibited. Then these people should not be used for these types of activities. Now, there are other points which no one may be punished for any offense he or she has not personally committed. Because it has been, if you see the provisions which are coming on your screen, you will realize that the conventions and the protocol are the result of the experience which the society has witnessed during armed conflict. What kind of sufferings the civilian population are generally facing in armed conflict. So the provisions which you find in these conventions and protocol are based on these experiences, these instances. So it has been seen that the people have been punished for the offenses which they have not committed. It's a kind of torture. The it is also prohibited to collectively penalize, to impose collective penalties, as well as reprisal against the protected persons and their property. Protected persons are the civilian population, the prisoners of war. The protected properties are cultural properties, religious properties, properties which are not directly involved in the hostilities. Generally, the symbol is a kind of symbol. There is a symbol for indicating that these are the protected properties. So, during the armed conflict, if a symbol is placed on the property, it means that it is a protected property, and this property should not be attacked. Public places, schools, museums, cultural properties, religious places, these are the protected places. And any kind of intimidation or other kind of terrorism which is committed on the people is prohibited. Making short work of the any kind of notorious punishment or notorious treatment which is prohibited under these conventions. So basically you can see the actually why it has been because these things are also prohibited in peacetime, but since these conventions deal with the situations of armed conflict, so these provisions have been made so that international community are aware of these things and try to refrain from practicing these types of torture or abuse on the civilians. Now, with regard to aliens, as I also mentioned earlier, in the occupied territory, the aliens who are in the conflict area, they are also protected from any kinds of abuse or mistreatment. First of all, enemy nationals are also protected, as I mentioned earlier, which are living in the enemy territory or any occupied territory. So these people are also protected, which you can see on the so now when we come to our next slide, it is the protected persons who do not leave the territory retain a number of fundamental rights to receive all types of medical attendance, all types of logistical needs, food, shelter, etc., to practice their religion and to move from an area particularly exposed to a dangerous war-like situations. So these people can move to another place. They have the right to practice their religion. They their medical needs, their medical requirements needs to be attended. So when we move to now, it's a next slide, that is occupied territory. It is what is occupied territory? It has been defined in the fourth convention. Apart apart from uh, apart from oh, sorry. So these Hague Conventions also contain certain rules with regard to uh, the the protection which are available to civilian population, and these you can see on the slide. Uh, so basically, the apart from these two conventions, which that is Geneva Convention 4 and optional protocol, there are other instruments which deal with the rights of civilian population. So for the now when we let's move to the next slide, because now Hague regulations also contain provisions on such diverse matters as collection of taxes, uh, property related rights and services, and the fate of movable and immovable properties. So the collection of taxes and the rights related to property, whether it is movable or immovable, are covered by the Hague Conventions, mainly the Hague Conventions of 1899 and 1907. These conventions mainly deal with these issues. Uh, so so these people should not be exposed to unnecessary taxation, etc. So so internment is also covered in the convention. Uh, People should not be unnecessarily detained in the by the conflicting parties. These are self-explanatory slides. So with this, we wind up our today's session. Thank you very much.